The last day, April 30th, 1945. Berlin was burning. The city that once symbolized the power of the Third Reich was now reduced to ruins. Artillery fire echoed through the streets. Smoke rolled over the skyline like a black tide. Deep beneath the city, in the cold concrete of the Führerbunker, Adolf Hitler faced the truth he had denied for months. Germany had lost the war. Inside the bunker, air was thick with diesel fumes and fear. Guards whispered about surrender. Typewriters clattered as the last orders were issued to divisions that no longer existed. Hitler, pale and trembling, refused to step outside. His generals urged him to escape, but he would not leave Berlin. This was his final stand. As Soviet shells thundered closer, Hitler's world collapsed. At his side was Eva Braun, calm, resigned. They had been married only hours earlier. At 3:30 p.m., they retreated to a small room lined with maps of a world that no longer belonged to him. Moments later, a single gunshot shattered the silence. Hitler was gone, but his death was only the beginning of another mystery, one that would haunt historians for decades. Because what happened next was hidden, twisted, and rewritten by those who discovered it. When the gunfire stopped, silence swept across the ruins of Berlin. The Red Army advanced street by street, clearing what was left of Hitler's empire. Soviet soldiers reached the Reich Chancellery, a fortress of shattered marble and burning steel. Deep below, they discovered the labyrinth of rooms that once served as Hitler's command post. It was there, among the ashes and debris, that they found two charred bodies outside the bunker entrance. One was believed to be Adolf Hitler, the other his wife, Eva Braun. Both had been hastily burned. Gasoline poured over their bodies, set aflame by loyal guards who refused to let them fall into enemy hands. But when investigators examined the remains, the faces were gone, burned beyond recognition. The bodies were only partial, fragments of bone and teeth. Even the uniforms were damaged too severely to confirm identity. Stalin's men sent word to Moscow. The Führer might be dead, but they couldn't prove it. Inside the Kremlin, Stalin didn't believe the report. He was convinced Hitler had escaped. Rumors spread. Hitler in a submarine, in Argentina, in the Alps. The Soviets, fearing Western spies, locked away every piece of evidence, bones, teeth, burnt fabric, and stored them in secret archives. Meanwhile, Allied investigators searched for answers. Witnesses from the bunker gave conflicting stories. Some swore Hitler shot himself, others claimed cyanide. As months passed, the myth of Hitler's survival overshadowed the facts. Behind the Iron Curtain, the Soviets quietly guarded their secret, remains that might or might not belong to Adolf Hitler. And decades later, a hidden archive in Moscow would reveal the truth they had tried to bury. For decades, the mystery of Hitler's body lay buried under Cold War silence. The Soviet Union refused to share information. To them, Hitler's death wasn't just a fact, it was propaganda. In 1968, a classified Soviet report surfaced. It confirmed the Soviets had preserved fragments of Hitler's body, a skull, a jawbone, and several teeth, hidden within KGB archives. According to the report, pathologists compared the jaw to Hitler's dental records. The match was perfect. For the Soviets, that was enough. Hitler was dead, proof secured. But decades later, Western scientists tested those remains. The skull fragment, long believed to be Hitler's, did not belong to a man. DNA analysis revealed it came from a woman in her 30s. The world was stunned. Had the Soviets preserved the wrong remains? If so, whose bones were they guarding? The revelation reignited conspiracy theories. That Hitler used a double, that he escaped to South America. Books and documentaries offered every version imaginable. The Kremlin stayed silent, insisting their story was right. Meanwhile, the real evidence, and perhaps the truth, waited, buried deep in KGB files. When those files were finally opened, they would show how the Soviets themselves erased nearly all physical proof of Hitler's body. When the Soviet Union collapsed in 1991, the truth finally surfaced. Inside the newly opened KGB archives, historians found photographs, medical diagrams, and secret reports describing how Hitler's remains were handled. They revealed that after the war, pieces of a jawbone, teeth, and skull were taken from Berlin to Moscow under Stalin's orders. In 1946, Soviet doctors matched the jaw to X-rays taken of Hitler during his lifetime. The bridgework, fillings, and bone structure were identical. This was the undeniable proof Stalin had demanded, but he kept it hidden. He realized that a lingering mystery about Hitler's fate would keep the West uneasy. So the Soviets let confusion grow. The KGB files also confirmed that in 1970, the remaining fragments of Hitler's body were destroyed. Under orders from Moscow, the remains were exhumed from a military site, completely burned, and the ashes scattered in a river. Only the jaw and a few teeth were kept for study. By the time historians learned this, almost all evidence was gone. The only surviving fragments rested inside a small box in the FSB archives. Later forensic experts confirmed the dental match again, proving that Hitler had indeed died in his bunker. Yet decades of secrecy and misinformation had turned a straightforward death into an enduring global mystery, and one final investigation would close that mystery forever. More than 70 years after the war, the question still echoed: what really happened to Adolf Hitler's body? In 2017, French forensic scientists gained access to the remains in the Russian archives. They conducted the first modern independent examination. The results were decisive. The dental bridge and fillings matched Hitler's dental records exactly. Traces of cyanide were found, confirming reports that Hitler had bitten into poison before firing his pistol. The jawbone showed a gunshot impact consistent with suicide. Every test pointed to one conclusion: Hitler died in the bunker on April 30th, 1945. There were no secret submarines, no escape to Argentina, just a dictator's end in a dark concrete room beneath a collapsing empire. Still, the myths persisted. For decades, the world preferred thrilling stories to the simple truth. But evidence spoke louder than fantasy. The remains now rest quietly in Moscow, locked away, silent witnesses to the end of a nightmare. And perhaps that's fitting. For all the destruction he caused, Hitler's final legacy is not his body or his ideology, but the warning his story leaves behind. That lies can outlive their creators, but truth always finds a way back to light. Even in death, Hitler managed to confuse the world. But history has spoken. The dictator's body was burned. His empire crumbled. His lies did not survive him. Only the truth did, waiting, patient, beneath the ashes of war.